The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was in back-to-back board meetings. My assistant, Michael, knocked on the glass door of the conference room. I held up one finger. 5 more minutes with the VP of Operations discussing our Q3 expansion into Southeast Asia. When I finally checked my phone, there were 3 missed calls from my sister Lauren and a voicemail. Hey Emma, it's me. So, about the baby shower next Saturday? I've been thinking and, okay, this is awkward, but the shower's at Greenbrier Country Club. Daniel's family is hosting. His mom basically planned the whole thing. Everyone's going to be there. His parents' friends, his colleagues from the firm, people from their social circle. And I just think, given where you are right now with the whole startup thing and everything, it might be better if you sit this one out. You'd feel uncomfortable anyway. All the other guests are, established. You know what I mean? Anyway, call me back. Love you. I played it again. Given where you are right now, you'd feel uncomfortable. Established. I set my phone down carefully and returned to my meeting. An hour later, Lauren texted. Lauren, did you get my message? Me, yes. Lauren, so you understand, right? It's not personal. Daniel's family is they're very particular. His mom keeps talking about how elegant everything needs to be. Target clothes and startup stress just wouldn't fit the vibe. I stared at that message. Target clothes. Lauren. Plus mom said you've been so busy with work you probably don't have time anyway. This way you don't have to feel obligated. Me, okay. Lauren. Thanks for being cool about this. I knew you'd get it. I'll send you pics. I sat in my corner office on the 52nd floor of downtown Chicago, overlooking Lake Michigan, and tried to remember the last time Lauren had asked me a single question about my work. Let me paint the picture. I'm Emma Chin, 34 years old, founder and CEO of Catalyst Financial Technologies. We're a fintech company specializing in algorithmic trading platforms for institutional investors. Current valuation, $3.2 billion. Revenue last year, $480 million. Employees, 650 across 4 countries. I started Catalyst 7 years ago in my studio apartment with $22,000 in savings and an algorithm I'd been developing since grad school at MIT. My family's reaction? That's nice, honey. When are you going to get a real job? Lauren is 2 years older. She married Daniel Whitmore 3 years ago. Daniel's a corporate attorney at his father's firm, Whitmore and Associates. Very old money. His mother, Victoria Whitmore, sits on museum boards and charity committees. Their family has a wing named after them at Northwestern. Lauren became exactly what Victoria wanted. Polished, proper, pregnant with her first grandchild. Me. I was the embarrassment. At Lauren's wedding, Victoria had introduced me to her friends as the other daughter, the one who's trying to start some little computer business. At Thanksgiving last year, Daniel's father asked what I did. Before I could answer, Lauren jumped in. Emma's in tech. She's still figuring things out. I just closed a $180 million Series C funding round. Forbes had called me for an interview. I'd said nothing. Because I'd learned something important. My family didn't need to know. They'd decided who I was when I dropped out of my finance job at Goldman Sachs to start Catalyst. You're throwing away a 6-figure salary for a pipe dream, Dad had said. You'll be back begging for your old job within a year. That was 7 years ago. I hadn't been back. The thing about building a company in silence is that you get very good at compartmentalizing. At family dinners, I nodded while Lauren talked about Daniel's latest case and their country club membership. I smiled while Mom bragged about Lauren's interior decorator and their home renovation. I listened while Dad explained how Daniel was really going places at the firm. And then I went back to work and built an empire. Catalyst's first client was a mid-sized hedge fund willing to try anything to improve their algorithmic trading efficiency. Our platform increased their returns by 23% in the first quarter. Word spread fast in that world. Within 2 years we had 15 institutional clients. Within 4 years 50. By year 6, we were managing algorithmic trading for some of the largest investment banks and hedge funds in the world. The Wall Street Journal called us the quiet revolution in fintech. Bloomberg named me one of their 50 people who changed finance. Fortune put me on their 40 under 40 list. My family saw none of it. Not because I hid it, because they never asked. At Christmas 2 years ago, I'd mentioned in passing that we were expanding to London. Oh, that's exciting, Mom had said. Is that expensive? starting an overseas office. We raised $90 million to do it, I'd said casually. She'd paused. 90 million? Yes. Well, that's very impressive, honey. She changed the subject 30 seconds later to ask about Lauren's new dining room set. After that, I stopped mentioning work at all. My world became divided. The professional world that knew exactly who I was and the family world that had no clue. Until last month, when the Wall Street Journal released their annual Power Women in Finance issue. I was on the cover. The Wall Street Journal photographer spent 4 hours with me. They shot in our office in the trading floor in the glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. The final cover was striking. Me in a navy Tom Ford suit, standing in front of floor-to-ceiling windows with the Chicago skyline behind me. The headline, Emma Chin, the algorithm queen who's revolutionizing institutional trading. The article was 5 pages. It detailed Catalyst's origin story, our technology, our growth, our $3.2 billion valuation. It quoted our clients, CEOs of major investment banks calling our platform transformative. It mentioned our revenue, our expansion, our plans to IPO within 2 years. There was a full-page photo of me on our trading floor, surrounded by my team, dozens of screens showing real-time market data. The magazine hit newsstands on a Thursday. My phone exploded with congratulations from clients, investors, colleagues, business school classmates. Nothing from my family. I checked the group chat. Mom had posted photos of Lauren's nursery renovation. Dad had shared an article about golf courses. My brother Kevin had posted a meme. No one mentioned the Wall Street Journal. Until Friday afternoon when Mom called. Emma. Honey. Carol from my book club just showed me the most amazing thing. You're on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Why didn't you tell us? It just came out yesterday. But when did they interview you? This article says you have a $1 billion company. 3.2 billion. And they interviewed me 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. And you didn't mention it. I did mention it. At dinner last month. I said I had a Wall Street Journal interview coming up. You asked if it would interfere with Lauren's baby shower planning. Silence on the other end. Well, I'm sure I was just distracted with helping Lauren. This is all very exciting, honey. I'm forwarding this to everyone I know. She hung up before I could respond. Lauren texted 20 minutes later. Lauren, Mom just sent me the Wall Street Journal thing. Why didn't you tell me you were on the cover? It just came out. Lauren, this is insane. You look so professional. When did this happen? Me, which part? The interview or the 7 years of building the company? Lauren, don't be like that. I'm happy for you. This is huge. Me, thanks. Lauren, anyway, about the baby shower. Since you're obviously super busy with all this big CEO stuff, you probably can't make it anyway, right? And there was. The cover of the Wall Street Journal hadn't changed anything. I was still the sister who didn't fit in at the country club. Saturday arrived. I spent the morning in the office reviewing our Q4 projections with my CFO, David Park. Catalyst was on track to hit $620 million in revenue. Our expansion into Singapore was ahead of schedule. 3 major investment banks were in active negotiations to triple their usage of our platform. You should be celebrating, David said. The Wall Street Journal cover, the numbers, everything. Why are you here on a Saturday? Where else would I be? I don't know. Living your life. You're 34 and worth $500 million personally. Maybe take a day off. I smiled. This is living my life. My phone buzzed. The family group chat. Mom had posted a photo from the baby shower. Lauren in a flowing white dress, surrounded by presents wrapped in pink and gold. The country club's event room looked like something from a magazine spread. Cascading flowers, elegant table settings, women in designer outfits holding champagne flutes. So beautiful. Lauren looks like a princess. Dad, very classy event. The Whitmores really know how to do things right. Kevin, free food and I wasn't invited? Rude. I zoomed in on the photo. I recognized some faces. Victoria Whitmore holding court near the gift table. Daniel's father Robert in the corner talking to other men in polo shirts and expensive watches. Women I didn't know, all perfectly coiffed, all clearly comfortable in this environment. Lauren had been right about one thing. I would have stood out. Not because of my clothes, I had a closet full of designer suits and could afford anything in that room 10 times over. But because I'd built something instead of marrying into it. And that apparently was worse. According to the family group chat, the shower was going perfectly. Victoria just gave the most touching speech about welcoming a grandchild. Lauren, opening presents now. So many beautiful things. Lauren just opened the Hermes baby blanket from the Vanderbilts. So elegant. I was about to silence my phone when it started ringing. Unknown number. Chicago area code. Emma Chin, I answered. Miss Chin. This is Melissa Garcia from WGN News. We're doing a segment on the Wall Street Journal's Power Women issue, and we'd love to interview you. Would you have time this week? Can you email my assistant to schedule? Of course. And congratulations on the cover. The story is incredible. Building a multi-billion-dollar company from scratch? That's the kind of story Chicago needs to hear. We hung up. 2 minutes later my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. Victoria Whitmore. My heart stopped. I answered. Hello. Emma? Emma Chin. Her voice was sharp. Confused. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore? I'm at Lauren's baby shower. I was just showing my friend Margaret the new Wall Street Journal. She collects magazines. And there's a young woman on the cover who looks exactly like you. Emma Chin. Same name. CEO of some technology company. My mouth went dry. That's me, I said. Silence. I'm sorry. Victoria said. That's you? On the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Yes, ma'am. But Lauren said you work at a startup. That you're still figuring things out. I do work at a startup. My startup. Catalyst Financial Technologies. We're worth $3.2 billion. I heard a gasp on the other end. Then muffled voices. Someone asking what was wrong. Emma, Victoria said slowly. Are you telling me you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company and you didn't come to your sister's baby shower? Lauren uninvited me. She said my Target clothes wouldn't fit in with your social circle. More muffled conversation. Victoria's voice sharper now. Lauren, come here. Now. Then the call ended. My phone immediately exploded. Texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Missed calls from Mom. A text from Kevin. Dude, what is happening? And then 30 seconds later a call from Lauren. I answered. Emma. He was crying. Angry crying. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That you're on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. That you're worth billions. That you're. Her voice cracked. Victoria's friend just showed her. In front of everyone. Everyone at my baby shower. And Victoria asked me why my incredibly successful sister wasn't here. And I had to say I uninvited you because I thought you couldn't afford to fit in and... She was sobbing now. I said nothing. Emma, I'm mortified. Daniel's entire family is asking questions. His mother is furious with me. She keeps saying you excluded your sister? The one on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. And everyone is looking at me like I'm... Like you're what? I asked quietly. Like you're someone who judged her sister's worth by her outfit instead of her achievements? That's not fair. Isn't it? I didn't know. You didn't ask, Lauren. Not once in 7 years did you ask what I was building. You just assumed I was failing because I wasn't married to money like you are. He made a choke sound. Please. Can you come? Can you come to the shower and fix this? Fix what? The fact that you're embarrassed? That's not my problem. Emma, please. I hung up. My phone didn't stop ringing for the rest of the day. Mom called 6 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Dad texted. We need to talk about this situation. Kevin texted. This is the most dramatic thing that's ever happened in our family and I'm so here for it. Daniel called. I answered that one out of curiosity. Emma. He sounded exhausted. I owe you an apology. For what? For not knowing who you are. For not asking. For letting Lauren. For letting my family assume. He trailed off. My mother is mortified. She's been telling everyone what an elegant event this was, how everything was perfect, and then she finds out she excluded someone who's achieved more than anyone in this room. I wasn't excluded by your mother. I was excluded by my sister. I know. And that's inexcusable. Lauren is, she's devastated. The shower basically ended after Victoria's friend showed everyone the magazine. Half the guests spent the rest of the event Googling you instead of focusing on the baby. Victoria is furious. She keeps saying Lauren embarrassed the family. Good, I said. Emma. Daniel, I don't want an apology from you. You didn't do anything wrong. You just married into a family that decided I wasn't worth their time. That's not. It is. And now they're upset because it turns out I'm worth more than they thought. But that doesn't change anything. I'm still the same person I was last week when Lauren uninvited me. The only difference is now they know my net worth. He was quiet. Tell Lauren I hope the rest of her shower was nice, I said. And congratulations on the baby. I hung up. That night I got an email from Victoria Whitmore. Dear Emma, I owe you an apology. A significant one. When I met you at Lauren's wedding, I made assumptions based on limited information. I understood you were in tech and still figuring things out. Based on those descriptions, I formed an opinion that was, I now realize, completely inaccurate and deeply unfair. Today, at what should have been a joyful celebration, I learned that you are not only successful but extraordinarily accomplished. The CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. Featured on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. A pioneer in your field. And you weren't at the shower because my daughter-in-law told you that you wouldn't fit in. I am mortified. Not because you're successful, though that certainly adds to my embarrassment, but because a member of my family made you feel unwelcome based on superficial judgments. I would very much like to take you to lunch. Not to make excuses, but to apologize properly and to get to know the remarkable woman I should have made an effort to know 3 years ago. If you're willing, please let me know. With sincere regret, Victoria Whitmore. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back. Mrs. Whitmore. Thank you for your email. I appreciate the apology. However, I need you to understand something. The issue isn't that your family didn't know I was successful. The issue is that your family and mine treated me as less than because they assumed I wasn't. If I was still working a startup that was struggling, would I have deserved to be excluded? If I was making $50,000 a year instead of running a billion-dollar company, would I have been worth less as a person? The answer is no. And until my family understands that, I'm not interested in lunch. Respectfully, Emma Chin. Sunday morning, Mom showed up at my apartment. I buzzed her up because refusing felt like more drama than it was worth. She walked in carrying a bakery box and looking 10 years older than she had last week. Emma, we need to talk. Okay. She set the box on my kitchen counter. Croissants from my favorite bakery, the one she usually said was overpriced, and turned to face me. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. About the company. About the money. About being on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. I did tell you. Multiple times. You didn't listen. We didn't realize it was that successful. Because you didn't ask. You assumed I was failing because I wasn't following the path you understood. She flinched. That's not fair. Mom, at Christmas last year I told you we'd raised $90 million. Your response was to ask if that was expensive and then change the subject to Lauren's dining room. I didn't understand what that meant. You could have asked. She sat down at my kitchen island, deflated. You're right. I should have. Lauren's life made sense to me. Marriage, home, baby. I understood that. Your life was all algorithms and funding rounds and things I didn't understand, so I stopped trying. And decided I was the failure. I never thought you were a failure. You told Lauren I was still figuring things out. You introduced me to your book club as the one in computers. You never once asked to visit my office or meet my team or learn about what I built. Tears rolled down her face. I didn't know it mattered to you. It always mattered. You just didn't notice. We sat in silence. Lauren is devastated, Mom finally said. The baby shower was ruined. Victoria's friends spent the entire event asking about you instead of celebrating Lauren. Daniel's family is furious with her. She's been crying for 2 days. I'm sorry she's upset. But I'm not sorry I didn't come to an event I was specifically uninvited from. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. Mom, she said my Target clothes wouldn't fit in with Daniel's family's social circle. She meant exactly what it sounded like. Mom's hands shook as she poured herself coffee from my French press. What do we do now? I don't know, I said honestly. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. Tired of being the one who doesn't fit. Tired of being the afterthought. Tired of building something extraordinary and having my own family not even notice. We notice now. Because it's public. Because the Wall Street Journal told you to notice. Not because you cared enough to ask. She had no answer for that. Lauren showed up that night. She looked terrible. Swollen eyes, no makeup, wearing sweats. Which was shocking because Lauren never left the house in sweats. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She walked to my living room and stopped looking around. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture. Original art on the walls. The kind of apartment that cost $15,000 a month. "I've never been to your place," she said quietly. "You never asked to visit." "I know." She sat on my couch. "Emma, I'm so sorry." "For what specifically?" She took a shaky breath. "For not knowing you. For not caring enough to know you. For judging you based on what I thought your life was instead of asking what it actually was." I sat across from her and waited. "I thought you were struggling," she continued. "I thought the startup thing was a phase. That you'd eventually give up and get a normal job. I thought I was ahead of you, married, stable, settled. And I liked feeling that way." "Ahead of me?" "Yes." He started crying. "I liked being the successful one. The one Mom bragged about. The one with the perfect life. And you were just the sister who was still figuring things out. Except you weren't. You were building something incredible, and I didn't even notice because I was so focused on my own life and my own success that I didn't bother to ask about yours." I said nothing. "The baby shower was supposed to be perfect," Lauren said. "Victoria planned everything. All her friends, all the right people, all the perfect details. And I wanted it to be about me for once. Not about you. So when Victoria asked if you were coming and I knew you'd probably show up in something simple and talk about work if anyone asked, I panicked. I told myself you'd be uncomfortable. That you wouldn't fit in. That it was better for everyone if you didn't come. You told me my Target clothes wouldn't fit in." She sobbed. I know what I said. And I meant it. I meant it because I wanted one day where I was the successful sister, where people weren't asking about you or your career or your achievements. I wanted to be the center of attention without worrying that you'd somehow overshadow me. "Lauren, I've never tried to overshadow you." "I know. That's what makes it worse. You've never competed with me. You've never thrown your success in my face. You just quietly built an empire while I was busy feeling superior about my country club membership and my husband's family name." She wiped her eyes. "Victoria has barely spoken to me since the shower. He keeps saying I embarrassed the family by excluding you. Her friends have been calling Daniel asking to be introduced to you. Half of them want investment advice. The other half want to recruit you for their charity boards. And all I can think about is how I told you not to come because you'd bring down the vibe." "I would have brought down the vibe," I said quietly. "Not because of my clothes. But because I built my success instead of marrying into it, and that makes people uncomfortable. That's not fair to Daniel." "I'm not criticizing Daniel. I'm criticizing a culture that values proximity to success over actual achievement. Victoria's friends didn't care about me when they thought I was a struggling tech worker. Now that they know I'm worth $500 million, suddenly I'm worth knowing." Lauren was quiet for a long moment. "What can I do?" she finally asked. "I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. Can we start over? Can I get to know my actual sister instead of the version I made up in my head?" I looked at her. My older sister, who I'd looked up to my entire childhood, who I'd wanted so badly to impress, who I'd eventually stopped trying to connect with because she'd made it clear I wasn't worth her time. "Maybe," I said. "But it's going to take time. And you're going to have to actually care. Not because I'm on magazine covers, but because I'm your sister. I do care. I should have cared all along." "Yes. You should have." The Wall Street Journal cover changed everything in nothing. Investors called with congratulations. Clients wanted to expand their contracts. Competitors suddenly wanted partnerships. Bloomberg asked for an interview. Forbes bumped me higher on their billionaire watch list. But at family dinner the next Sunday, which I reluctantly agreed to attend, nothing was actually different. Mom still asked if I was eating enough. Dad still talked about golf. Kevin still made inappropriate jokes. But now they asked questions. "How many employees do you have?" Dad asked. 650. 700 by year end. "That's incredible. How do you manage that many people?" "Very good executives and a clear company culture." Lauren was quiet most of the meal. He kept looking at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Toward the end she said, "Emma, would you want to come to lunch sometime? Just us. I'd like to hear about Catalyst. About what you've built." "I'd like that," I said. Victoria Whitmore called the next week. I took the call. "Emma, I wanted to follow up on my email. I understand if you're not interested in lunch, but I wanted you to know that I spoke with Lauren, and with Daniel, and with my husband, and we all agree that we made a terrible mistake. Thank you for saying that. I also wanted to mention, I sit on the board of several nonprofits, tech literacy programs, women in STEM initiatives, financial education for underserved communities. We'd be honored if you'd consider joining one of our boards. Not because you're successful, but because we need people who've actually built something to guide these programs." I paused. That was not what I expected. "Send me the information. I'll review it." "Thank you, Emma. I really would like that lunch. Not to apologize again, though I will, but because I'd like to know the woman my son's child will call Aunt Emma." That got me. "Hey," I said. "Lunch." 3 months later, I sat in a private room at Greenbrier Country Club, the same place that had been too elegant for me a few months earlier, having lunch with Victoria Whitmore. She'd arranged for the chef to prepare my favorite dishes. She'd done her research. "I've been reading about Catalyst," she said. "Your platform is revolutionizing how major institutions approach trading. The technology is remarkable." "Thank you. I also read the Bloomberg interview. You mentioned starting the company because you wanted to prove that brilliant ideas could come from anyone, not just people from the right schools or the right families." "That's true." She set down her fork. "I'm one of those people who judges based on pedigree. Old money, right schools, proper families. I've been that person my entire life." "I know. Lauren told me what she said to you. About Target clothes and not fitting in. It was unconscionable. But I think she learned it from me. From the way I talk about people. From the values I've demonstrated." I stayed quiet. "I'm trying to do better," Victoria continued. "I've started volunteering with one of the tech literacy nonprofits I mentioned, teaching basic computer skills to low-income students. It's humbling. These kids are brilliant. They just haven't had the opportunities that Daniel had. That my family had. That's good work. It's the least I can do. Emma, I'd like you to meet one of the students. He reminds me of you. Brilliant. Driven. Building something from nothing. She's 14 and coding her own apps. I told her about you. She'd love to meet you." Something in my chest loosened. "I'd like that," I said. Lauren's baby, a girl named Claire, was born in August. I was at the hospital. Lauren cried when she handed her to me. "Emma, I want her to be like you," she whispered. "Brave. Independent. Building things that matter. Will you teach her?" "Of course," I said, looking down at my niece. "I'll teach her that success isn't about fitting in. It's about figuring out who you are and building a life that honors that. Even if it makes people uncomfortable? Especially then." The Wall Street Journal followed up with another feature 6 months later. Catalyst Financial goes public. Emma Chen's IPO values company at $7.2 billion. The family group chat exploded with congratulations. Mom printed the article and framed it. Dad added, "My daughter is on the Wall Street Journal," to his golf buddies' conversations. Lauren posted the cover on Instagram with a long caption about having an incredible sister she was proud to know. Victoria sent flowers to my office with a note. "Congratulations on changing the world. Proud to know you." But the message that meant the most came from the 14-year-old student Victoria had told me about. Her name was Maya. "Miss Chen, Mrs. Whitmore showed me the Wall Street Journal article. I'm going to build something like you did. Thank you for showing me it's possible." I wrote back, "You don't need permission to be brilliant, Maya. Build your empire. I'll be here if you need advice." Because that's what I'd learned. The people who judge you by your clothes, your connections, or your perceived status don't matter. The people who see your potential and believe in your vision, those are your people. And sometimes, just sometimes, the people who dismissed you eventually realize what they missed. But by then you've already built something so extraordinary that their approval is optional. And that freedom, that's the real success.